What is up, guys? Welcome to week 6, I believe, of the podcast. Glad you guys have been staying tuned with us, and glad you're watching, and we're looking forward to growing this. Ryan, how you doing this week?
Dude, I'm doing really well, man. Can't complain. Went on a pretty bad downswing like a week ago, and now I'm almost back to even from. I started using a legitimate poker tracker to actually
It's about
track winnings and
time.
losings, and I really needed to. And I was writing it down on like a notes on my phone, and like that's just not a good way to keep that. It also gives you a greater idea of your per hour statistics, so it gives you a better idea, like per session, how you're doing, and for the amount of hands that you're playing, what you really should be doing.
And per stake and per day, and you can just
Absolutely.
really break it down by a ton of different.
Yeah.
Like if you see on the weekend, if you tend to be looser or something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
it is
It
interesting.
just helps you like fix leaks, and I think it's really important to.
Yeah.
I'm glad you finally are on the tracking
Yeah.
your session train. So that's
And
awesome.
I really think that does segue in to our nice little conversation today about the difference between online poker and live poker. And I think this is now especially prevalent, obviously, because we're stuck where we are with coronavirus and we're all stuck at home. We're all still playing online. A lot of us miss the live streets and the screams and the yells and the crazy old people and the wild young people and the fun, crazy things that happen at casinos. But we're playing online and we're all playing in clubs and different things. And I think ours is not unique in that there's lots of different clubs and lots of people playing online. So
I believe it's Johnny Vibes Instagram bio now, COVID-induced online grinder, and I think that summarizes a lot of people's current situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that does. I think, honestly, I think our almost guest put it best in one of her tweets today.
Or
I think it was yesterday.
WinoPoker will not be joining us today, but we're rescheduling, hopefully for next week, and if not, we'll have an impromptu session on like a Friday or something just to get her on.
Right.
She's gonna be a great guest.
Exactly. And she put it perfectly where she tweeted out something to the effect of like, every poker player schedule now is like wake up, grab your phone, immediately go down, get stuck, and then spend the rest of the day getting back while cursing every opponent at the table. Then getting upset over a $3 DoorDash delivery fee.
That's just so funny. Poker players are such cheapos.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And the end of it was like, complaining about a $3 delivery charge when you're bluffing $80 into a $30 pot. And I'm like, that's facts.
Sounds
when
like
you start
me.
ordering DoorDash late at night, you're in a bad spot.
Very, very true. So so in terms of online versus live, one of the things we wanted to discuss was just like your table image.
Yep.
So we talked about how I'm just some skinny young kid, and online I act fairly aggressively, especially in the club we're in. People tend to overfold. Well, it totally depends on the player, but my aggressive tactics have definitely worked out for me. Whereas live, one, I think my tactics a little different, and I think also part of that may just be like my image. I'm not scared money by any means in live, but I think just also you have to worry about tells. So on Sundays we've been doing Zoom calls, and I think one of the things I personally like is speech play. So while I can type stuff in the chat, I forgot about this, so I didn't archive this hand for today. But it was the hand where I had queens on a king high flop board, and I floated flop and turn and said, "You have king jack," and raised him on the river, and he folded, and he showed the king, and it was so funny. Because of how the pre-flop action went, I just knew he didn't have strong kings in his range, and I did. So I had all the ace kings. I had I just had him, and he folded. And I was just so amazing. Or the Zoom call, which we'll get into a hand in a little while. I think it may have played a factor in his decision. I think it did. I think if we weren't on that call, he was snap calling me and winning the pot.
Yeah, I agree. So, I think live is just, it's such an interesting animal. Also because the speed of play is significantly different in that you're not seeing nearly as many hands, and online you can run multi-table. Obviously, I can't play with my hands at one table and my feet at another one live. So as much as I wish I could. And yeah, I think part of the pace of the play and then the camaraderie or just whatever is happening at your table, it's not often camaraderie. More fun when it is.
I've made a lot of friends.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun at poker tables, don't get me wrong, but everyone's been at one where like you have the old dude to your right who's yelling at someone about the clock who thought for a minute on the river, and then some dude yells at him. So like I think live adds another element of you really get to see the characters of people.
For sure.
I think like you and I both know and have played against plenty of opponents and have plenty of friends who part of the aspect of their game is their table talk or just their table image in
CJ.
that how they play, how they talk, their trash talk. It gets to you, and it can cause people, and we have seen it time and time again, cause people to make bad decisions, and they can exploit you for it. So you lose that edge to a certain degree online. I mean, you can blow your top in a chat, but it's not the same as being face to face in a casino.
I agree, 100%. And I do think it's funny, like we said, just like how people are almost a little afraid of me. Like, I think online people definitely fear me more.
And live, come on.
It's just so interesting. Like look, I don't
Especially me, like I look particularly young too. Like the last time I went to the MGM,
I do too. That's why I
got stopped by a security guard and they stamped my hand.
They stamped your hand? How bad it is. Oh, I mean, I always get carded, but never like that.
Oh yeah, the guy literally stamped my hand on the floor, and I walked back and got all the flack from the table. But that's part of it, I think.
That is so funny that the table roasted you for it.
They absolutely makes it so much better. They knew exactly what it was. It made it so much better.
That's amazing. But do we have any other poker news we want to go over before we go into these hand histories, or
have I seen anything significant in the poker world?
I've been watching a lot of podcasts. I watched Marley's podcast. Who's it with? And I watched Run It Once's with Brad Owen, who was talking about Poker Bros a little bit, and how he was a little afraid to endorse a site that he wasn't winning on. And I think he mentioned that in one of his first vlogs. He's like, just a disclaimer, I'm not winning. So I do think that is interesting. I mean, I think people want to know that they can be profitable on the sites. And I think what people don't realize is that every club can have different rakes. So I know that the club I'm in is rigged significantly less than Unions.
Right.
And so I think you just have to really trust your agent, trust where you're playing, and I mean, learn for yourself. Like if you're a losing player and you just keep losing week after week, like do a self-audit, realize, are you the problem? Is the rake the problem? And then just go from there. I think.
And another perk of online poker is that you have access to all of the game data. Go back and look at the significant hands where you lost or where
exactly.
If you see a big minus next to a hand, hit hand detail on Poker Bros. Look through the actions. See like with this hand in this position, why were you doing this? Why did you raise when you shouldn't have? Like because you were making mistakes, and that's obviously why you lost money, unless you're a god and you ran aces into kings 3 times and lost. But that's not gonna happen.
Sounds like my week a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think we're ready to jump into these hands. So I think we're going to do your hand first.
Sure.
Do you want to give a little insight into this session or this hand while I'm pulling it up?
Yeah, so we play 1-2 online, not as often as we play like 30-60. So, there's obviously a running game pretty much every day of 30-60 that people play. And that's kind of the base stake. The buy-in's 120 and people play from there. So when we play 1-2, it's kind of a more significant deal because it's more than double the max buy-in. You could buy in for at max 300. So the swings are bigger, the stakes are bigger. And obviously when you're playing 30-60 a lot, the swings at 1-2 are a little different. So I think that also brings into this. I think a lot of people who play in this are not scared of the stake as well. Like, there are 2-5 people who play in our club and are super happy that there's 1-2. So,
for sure. Yeah. So Ryan wakes up. I'll let you go through it.
Yeah. So we're about 30 minutes into the session. Not a whole lot has occurred. We're all still pretty deep here. I think, I'm not even sure if I'm the effective stack here. I don't know why their stack sizes aren't on there, but Evan's the deepest. I'm a bot. He's the deepest. He's in the small blind with like 500. So I'm going to be the effective stack. I'm the shortest stack in this hand. So I guess it only matters that you have me. Yeah. So I wake up with Queen Jack here. And oh no, you can't see their hands. Jeez, I was looking at the small blind and big blind. But there they are.
I was wondering.
Yeah,
I was like, it's there.
And so so Fog opens to 6 from under the gun +1. Pretty standard. I tend to open to 8 under the gun or under the gun +1, but I mean, it's neither here nor there. Then Evan immediately to his left, I'm a bot, raises him to 18. So 3x sizing, it folds around to me on the button. I have Queen Jack suited. Offsuit, definitely not maybe a call. Marginal at best, I wouldn't do that. But suited here on the button and against 2 opponents where if I flop well, I'm going to continue. I'm going to flat this. And
so We've discussed this hand a little. Do you think there's any merit to 4-betting?
Yeah,
we obviously said
that.
no, but why shouldn't you 4-bet here? I guess, I mean, it's pretty obvious maybe to us, but like, do you want to explain it to people?
To the general viewing audience, an under the gun 1 open and under the gun +2 3-bet generally means a lot of strength because there's an open from early position and a 3-bet from early position.
I think it's also worth noting that while bot is more likely to mix it up a bit and is definitely has 3-bet bluffs in his range, Fog is a fairly tight player, so I think bot expects Fog to continue here with most of his range. Like sometimes Fog will flat and then folds, but he's not one to open fold.
No, he's going to see the flop, and I think part of that was happening was that Evan was trying to isolate here with this raise. He was trying to freeze out, take position. Maybe he gets a call from the blinds, but he doesn't want a call from me on the button. He wants position, but I take it. So. And the blinds fold out, and we'll see a flop.
Alrighty. So, yeah, they both call. And
yes, sorry, blinds fold out, Fog flats, which is important.
The anticipation's killing me.
Oh, my goodness.
Queen 7-9, 2 diamonds. So, check from Fog, 28 from bot. So, what are you thinking here with Queen Jack top pair?
Yeah, so I expect Fog to check his entire range. Hi, Fizz. I expect Fog to check everything that he has here. I don't expect him to lead into the aggressor ever. So, I'm not sure about what he has yet. When Evan bets out here, I think he has all continues from his 3-betting range under the gun. I think this doesn't necessarily smash his range, but obviously he has ace-queen here more than any of us do, being the aggressor pre-flop. So I think this could very easily be trying to represent ace-queen and fold out 7s and 9s from me on the button and maybe, again, try to isolate Fogged. But I'm always calling here with top pair, even with a jack kicker, because I obviously have some backdoor equity too with a straight.
Makes sense. Yeah, I don't see any merit in raising.
I didn't see a merit there.
Because you also have Fog behind you, who did raise pre-flop, and for all we know, he's slow playing aces or kings, which is definitely in his wheelhouse, and we've seen him slow play his very strong hands. So I definitely see, like, you can assume you're probably ahead here, but also bot easily has ace-queen, like you said, so you could also just be dominated. So there's really, you're definitely not raising for value, and why bluff raise as wet of a board as this, you're probably not folding both of them out. So
what's interesting is that, like, you can kind of say, because what happens here is Fog's going to flat behind. So when we go to see a turn here, and you can just click it and go to the turn while I explain this, I'm expecting at least one of them to show up with a queen here, and probably, if it's not ace queen, it's king queen, and one of them might have king queen. But I mean, that's the most plausible queen that's still here with under the gun ranges are ace queen and king queen.
If you have,
I think one of them has a draw, maybe
ace queen off here on the button, and you decided to flat pre, which I don't think is unreasonable. How do you play that? How do you play that flop? Do you raise it?
That's a great question. Yeah, probably, because I think you get. Well, I mean, what hits this flop? I guess there's 9s, but 9s isn't my. I don't even know 9s is in their ranges here. So
let's say, what did he bet again on the flop? Was it?
He bet half. He bet half pot into it. It was like $28, I think.
So if you raise to, let's say, 85 and he jams, do you fold? Because what if he has, say, 8-10 of diamonds? I mean, probably not, but 10-jack of diamonds totally jams there.
Yeah. So I think generally speaking, I'm not super aggressive with top on this, especially 3-ways. Because that's the problem, is that if you raise this hand, then you're going to end up in a situation where Fog can show up. I mean, that's the thing, is if I have ace queen here and I raise and Fog shows up with the worst queen, I'm probably folding it out anyway. So I think the most profitable line is a flat.
I agree. I just was interested in hearing your thought on that.
Yeah. I had to think about that too.
So Fog decides to check, bot checks, and you lead for 81 into 141.
Right. So let me explain this. Like, I see a check from Fog as, he's expecting Evan to bet a second street, and he, probably contains a 1-pair hand. And that's the thing, is, like, I think when Evan checks here, I think he's giving up. I think bot's giving up. And now I'm sitting here with this hand that the only river I want to see is a clean 10, or maybe not even another queen, because I think someone has a queen, but like maybe a jack. And like, that's not a lot of rivers I want to see. So I think I want to bet on this street because there's not a lot of equity here. And I think one pair hands are going to struggle to call a large bet like this because they're going to expect a jam on the river.
So this is basically a semi-bluff, obviously.
Correct.
This isn't a value bet just to
not at all.
He's not targeting like a worse queen or something.
No.
He very much expects Fog to have king queen, also queen jack potentially. Obviously, you block that hand. But you think that Fog's strong and Bot just maybe had, who knows, ace jack, ace king. He could have sixes. Who knows what Bot has? Bot has a very wide range. I actually really like this bet because on the not off chance, I think Bot could have 10 jack suited here. I don't think diamonds, but once he checks turn, he never has 10 jack. Never. He's not letting a flush board on the turn go checked, especially after you don't raise flop. He's going to expect you to check back the turn if you don't have anything.
Right.
So I don't think anyone's slow playing 10 jack. So I think betting jack queen. One, you have the blocker to 10 jack, and two, I mean, I think king queen could fold here personally against 81 into 141. That doesn't look strong enough to me. So I would be calling you here with king queen. But let's see what happens. Fog folds and Bot folds. So Fog tabled his hand, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
right?
he did. He showed king queen.
Yeah, so he did fold king queen.
He did fold king queen. I think, and one of the things, so he noted two things that I think are important after this hand. Number one, he noted that I have all the 7-8 and 8-9, so he was concerned about two pair combinations, which, I guess has some merit to it. And also, he was like, I have Evan behind. And he didn't note that Evan's check was for weakness. And so when I bet here, he's concerned what happens if he bet flop, he's going to check raise turn, and I'm sitting here with king queen. So I can totally understand the fold with somebody behind you.
From his perspective also, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
On the river, he very much expects you to just rip in his face.
Yeah.
Especially with the SPR. When he calls, he had 280 left, so there was 200 left into there would have been a $300 pot.
Yeah, it would have been like
in no scenario. I'm assuming you jam that river. I'm very right. There's no way you just chuck that back and give up. What if it's a 6 of diamonds?
Yeah, that's the thing is like the 6 of diamonds is probably it's a better card than it is. It's a better card for me than it is for him. But I mean, obviously he does have all the suited broadways that contain diamonds. So,
but is it because if he did have a diamond draw, don't you think he plays it the same way? I don't think.
That's concerning. It would be concerning if he flatted this bet on the turn, because then I wouldn't expect a better queen. I'd expect some nutted draw or jack 10. But I mean, I blocked that, but still.
I agree. All right, interesting. So let's stop sharing quick while I pull up this next hand. I believe another hand against Fog. It's a fun one.
Yeah.
So just a little background. This took place. This was all the same session, right, on Sunday night?
This particular one was. Yeah, these two both were.
Gotcha. So we're on a Zoom call. We're drinking. We're just hanging out. And the hand before this, actually Bot and Fog got in a big hand, and Bot bluffed Fog, and Fog was visually heated on the call. So I think that's worth noting into my decisions on this hand. And with that said, let me pull up the screen again. Here we go. Okay.
So we are also at 1-2.
Yes, we're at 1-2.
Same game.
And I have a 6 on the button, and Fog raises to 6. Bot calls the 6.
I think you're in the cutoff.
Yes. I think I'm. No,
you think you misplaced the button?
I misplaced the button.
Okay.
So I decide to raise to 30, and I'm expecting to take it down actually a large percentage of the time. So I think I look into raise sizings probably more than I should, but I think 6 tilted after the last hand, early position, to me, signifies that he's weak. I think it just shows that he wants to play a hand. Queen 10 off, 5s, 4s, ace jack suited maybe.
It very much so uncaps the range.
Yeah, so that's how I perceived it at least.
Yep.
Obviously, he could have a wide range of hands.
So
here,
somebody calls behind in seat 2. Is that correct?
Bot calls, who I think would do a lot of 3-betting with strong hands. So I'm also trying to just ISO one of them. So that I go with 30. I like my sizing. 4x plus 1 limper.
Yeah, there's also already 15 in the pot. You're fine there.
I'm in position. So yeah. So the flop is an interesting one. It's ace jack 3. So obviously a decent flop for me. I pick up the ace, but at the same time,
for some reason it's going.
Yeah, I think it's just a little laggy.
Oh,
it stopped. So I decide to go with the sizing of 50 into 93. I expect, obviously, any flush draw to call, any ace to call, and most jacks to call. I expect any jack to call.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things about this is that if they have an ace, it's a better ace. I think that's a problem for
Not necessarily. I think ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited, ace 2 suited. I think because what better aces do they have? Ace queen? No.
You just said yourself.
They raise bigger.
Okay.
No, the bot at least. Bot never has ace king, ace queen, ace jack. He could have ace 10.
Correct.
Sometimes.
He's raising those.
And I still think I can credibly rep ace king, ace queen, and barrel huge turn river. So I guess the only villain I'm worried about is Fog. But again, if Fog has ace king or ace queen, I expect to hear from him either pre-flop, which I didn't see the 4-bet. I mean, ace queen off, not going to 4-bet against me, I don't think, in position.
Yeah.
But ace king, I expect 4-bet.
Yeah.
So, and if he has ace queen here on this board, I don't know if he should be raising. Personally, I would raise turn if I had ace queen, because I'm afraid of both ace king. I could also have ace jack here, so I expect a flat. But he could also have a ton of, I don't know, king queen of clubs, king 10 of clubs. He could have a bunch of hands continuing here, so I'm not going to pretend he's a wide range. So he makes the call, and bot folds, and we see a turn. And the turn is the 3 of hearts. So yeah, there's 193 in the pot, and Fog decides to check it over to me, and I bet 57. This is one of the tiniest bets you will ever see from me on a turn.
Yeah, interesting.
So basically my logic with this bet is if he has a jack, I expect him to fold to this price. I expect him to think this is me having an ace, really just bullying him. And if he has a draw, I'm making him pay a little for it. He has an amazing price, and I expect him to call. So really, the goal of this bet was to fold out a jack. And if he has a worse ace, I plan on barreling a non-club river.
One of the other things here is that SPR is also kind of a factor here. By betting this sizing,
I'm setting up a jam on the river is what I'm doing. Exactly.
Just take a peek at his stack sizing, because you're also, the thing is with this smaller bet sizing, you're setting up a larger river jam if he calls with one of a weaker hands that
I don't want to price him in. I want him to have that's my exact logic.
Yes.
And I'm glad you're
And I think that's smart, because with ace-6, I think if he flats this bet again, you can expect him to have a jack or an ace that might be better.
Because let's say he has ace 10, and I lead for 110 here.
Yep.
If I jam river and it's not a club, I think he has to call 100% of the time. 100% of the time. But I think if he has ace 10 and I jam a little more than pot, I think he can get away with ace 10.
Yeah.
So that was my logic. I like it. I maybe could have gone a little bigger, but not really. Somewhere between 50 and 65.
Yeah,
I think
it's funny when you explain it that it makes a lot more sense when you go that small.
Yeah, because when you see this bet, you're probably, what the hell is he doing?
Right.
I wonder if he perceives it as strength, as weakness.
Yeah.
So on the river, it comes a interesting card. It comes the Jack of Spades, I believe. Sorry to kill the anticipation. So he checks it over to me. He has 248. So interesting stack size. Wow, that's a spoiler. So I just rip it in his face.
Yeah.
And basically, there's some speech play that goes on.
Absolutely.
He goes, "Do you have jacks?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Do you have threes?" I'm like, "No." I was like, "I have ace queen." And he goes, "You don't have ace queen." And I go, "No, like I'm targeting a worse ace." Like we have this conversation, and he's like, "I have ace king." And I'm just like, You like I visually react to him having ace
Bryce
king.
looked
I'm like,
surprised
what?
in real life.
I'm like, I was like, you don't have ace king. It just didn't make sense. Like, how do you not raise flop or turn, and how do you not four bet? I understand not four betting 100% of the
Yeah,
time
yeah.
pre-flop, but how do you not raise turn? Like, if I'm on a club draw or have a worse ace, don't you want to make me pay for it?
Mhm.
I guess if you think I'm bluffing, I could hang myself on the river, but I don't know. It's so interesting to me that I could see ace queen playing that more credibly, but ace king.
The funny part is like I can get behind him thinking that you have jacks until the jack comes on the river. That's the problem, is that like when there's three possible combinations of jacks and you're raising from there, I think it's more likely, but he's putting you on quads? Like,
So what do I have here? I think I have ace jack here sometimes.
yeah, don't
What do I
disagree.
have? Ace jack of hearts? Yeah, it's possible. So
Yeah.
I don't think he told me what his suits were.
He was off, I think.
I guessed no, I definitely guessed that. I don't know why it's not showing
Right,
this
that's why
hand
he
because
didn't
I
four bet,
inputted
I
it.
think.
So I put he had ace of hearts like king of spades or something was what I guessed he had.
I think that was.
So he ran out of time, and I think in a live setting he would have called, and I think
think
if we
so.
weren't on call he would have called. I think
I
me
agree.
saying I have ace queen like a troll because I don't think I have ace queen here, so I think I
No.
confused him a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think he would have made the call. So time banks, he used two time banks, I think he used three time banks, and the max you can use in a hand is three. I'm not
Yep.
sure he knew that also. So I got a little lucky in the fact that his time banks ran out.
Yeah.
So definitely something to be wary of if you play on Poker Bros. But the time banks definitely are very
And
useful.
that's another
I think
difference
I
between
think they
live
cost
and
like
online
$5
poker.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a certain amount of time. I think with Ace King, based on how I played this, you have to call.
Yep.
I just think you have to call. I could have
You could be at the
so
top of
many
your range with
bluffs.
kings here, and
I
like
have
you trying to bluff a worse ace. Like there's so many hands you could possess that are bluffs.
I have way more of bluffs in my range than I do value hands.
Value. And especially
Like
when you possess ace king. Like
he like him asking if I had threes. I don't make it 30 preflop with threes. Even if I think you're bluffing, like ace six has okay card
did it for the
removal. I
memes.
have an ace. I didn't do it for the memes. I did it because I thought he was tilted.
No, I'm
and-
saying if you were raising to 30 with pocket threes,
Oh
you would have
yeah,
done that for the memes.
I'm more likely to do that in a smaller game.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Not in 1-2.
and not yeah, but I think he has to call, but I think after discussing with him, I think he knows that it wasn't a horrible fold by any
Yeah.
means.
No.
I made a big bet on the river, and
Yes.
I wrecked strength on every street. It just didn't make as much sense when a jack comes off here, and I'm still barreling. But at the same time, I don't think you have any jacks, because of my turn bet. That basically led me to the belief you don't have any jacks. So
Yep.
even if I somehow have king jack here, I mean, I'm probably not jamming, but I might. It's not a horrible jam. If I know you don't have a jack and I think you have ace queen, I could jam. I mean, that's a boat. Like, so
Yeah, I think he just and this is a thought process that like probably is a good way to close this, is that a lot of people get trapped in the mindset on double paired boards that you have to have a boat to call or do anything. And that's not true. And especially on a board like this, when the unpaired board card is an ace and you possess ace king, you have the best possible two pair on the board. And yeah, and given the way the action went down, like you said, he was going to find his way into a call. If that was in a live setting, the difference between online and live, he probably would have eventually made his way to a call.
And
I almost with the tabletop.
I feel like he felt berated actually, so I'm sure he's going to end up watching this. This was not a bad fold.
Not at all.
I think given the 10 minutes of time we had to reflect and go over all of this, you had a minute and a half, and I was showing strength.
Oh my God.
Like, I hadn't been doing any crazy bluffs. Yes, I was down, and your logic was that he wouldn't be doing this because he's down. Honestly, being down didn't factor into my decision this time. Raising ace-6 wasn't a tilted play. It was a calculated play based on the hand before, and bot being the person to flat. If Ryan flatted after, still I think Ryan might fold, but he doesn't tend to call 6 to fold to 30, especially when there's another call in front of him.
Yep.
He's very much likes the priced-in mindset. So that was very player dependent, very meta of the hand before, and I like my line. I am surprised by what he had, and I think he should have called, but it's not a horrible play by you. Don't beat yourself up about it. I'll make mistakes, and I don't think it was a horrible one. So, anyways, moving on to the next hand. I have been playing a little 1-2 challenge against a buddy of mine who challenged me on Instagram. We actually have another game at 8:30. Keep you guys posted on how that's going. Yesterday was pretty good. Ended up up about 400.
Nice.
And this was the biggest pot of that session, and it was not an easy one. So without further ado, I will pull up the screen.
So Bryce, first question is this comes up. How far along are you when this hand occurs?
We're about 2 hours into the session, I believe, hour and a half. So we actually started at 51, and because I'd never played against this opponent, I kind of just wanted to get a sense for how he played before going to 1-2.
Yep.
So 1-2 went pretty well. I think I made about 80 big blinds, and then nothing to do with the big blinds, just how he played. Not that I think I have a huge edge or anything, but I was confident that the game would be a good game. And he said he'd play all the way up to 3-6, so I said, sure, why not? Let's do it. And so this is actually heads up, but the app did not allow me to put heads up for some reason.
Yeah, it had
so ignore seat
discount
6.
That seat.
So I just labeled him as a grinder. He's definitely a very competent player. So during this session so far, he'd been tending to fold to a lot of my 3-bets. So we actually had a lot of a leveling war going on. So we tend to raise to 6. And then the next person would raise to 20, so that was the standard raise and 3-bet sizing. So I actually misclick for the only time, I think, in this session to 5 with 8-9 of clubs. Definitely going to be opening this. I'm opening about 70 to 80% of hands in position. And he calls, flop comes 7-8-9, pretty good flop. And he checks it over to me, and I bet 7, and he raises me to 24. So, definitely interesting. I still like my hand, but he hadn't been doing too much 3-betting on the flop.
That's what I was about to say.
So how scared do you think I should? You were actually watching a lot of this match.
Yep.
And what did you make of? I don't think you were watching at this moment.
I wasn't watching at this particular moment.
But how would you take this raise? Obviously, I'll explain my thought process in a sec. But as a spectator,
I think a lot of from watching hands, he was very passive in general. And so when you raise flops very seldom, it's interesting when you do. And, it's hard to say that it's not going to be value when someone's only raising a very low percentage of the time. So the
times he'd raised, I think the bottom of his 3-bet flop range was queen 4 on like a queen 10-6 2-heart board or something, and I actually had kings, or not 4. There wasn't a 4 on the flop if I said that. So he had top pair 4 kicker, which I think is an interesting raise on that board. I guess he's just targeting a 10 or a flush draw. I had kings. He bet turn. I called. I think I bet river. He called. But anyways, he hadn't been doing too much 3-bet bluffing. So here, obviously his range is still pretty wide. I'm putting him on ace-9, 10-9, or 6-7 is basically my thought process for hands he should have, and set of 7s. I block sets of 8s and sets of 9s. So
that's
those are the hands.
Note to make is that especially this deep, and especially with the dynamic that's happening, and with the board especially, this is a lot of the time pair plus draw.
He could have 10 jack, obviously, but would that really raise flop nutted when I bet? Of course I'm going to be c-betting a lot. This flop doesn't smash my range, but I mean, it's
he wouldn't have a lot of incentive to fast play that hand, given that he doesn't raise on flops that often. Why would you fast play a hand that you're playing value with?
Exactly. So turn comes, and I call obviously, and turn comes the ace of hearts. So pretty bad card. Doesn't put 4 to a straight out there, but me being worried about ace-9.
Right, because that's one of those. That's like probably the lowest end of his flatting range from the big blind, and it's probably that contains all the ace. Well, no, but I mean for an ace, he can have any of the ace x or old 7x containing an ace here. Yeah, so I can understand the concern when the ace rolls off.
And even more concern when he decides to wait. How much did he bet? I need to go back. Oof! Yikes! I'm gonna just replay the hand. Did you see how much he bet on turn?
I don't know if there was a bet. I didn't see it.
Oh, there is definitely a bet on the turn.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know.
Yeah.
I didn't see.
Let me speed it up a little.
Comes a flop, bet, check,
call,
bet, raise, call.
So he sizes 45.
Oh,
so I don't think I should be raising turn here at all. Obviously, I have a good hand, but to an extent, it's a bluff catcher. Really, I'm just trying to catch the 9-10, 6-7s, even 7-8, 9-7 is possible. He could be betting that, and I expect him to give up on the river if he has something like 9-7 or 8-7. Just because me calling this turn is pretty strong. I mean, yeah, it brings a backdoor flush draw. But how many backdoor flush draws am I going to have here?
Yeah,
I'd say not many. Obviously, Evan can attest to the fact that I can flip flops with only backdoor draws. But this was not one of those times.
No.
I just don't see any merit in raising. I think flat call is pretty standard.
Absolutely.
And
we're still concerned. I mean, he sized up. I mean, this is a
I'm very
bet
concerned.
into this pot.
I'm reevaluating river. 3 of diamonds, good card, brick.
Oh, thank Christ.
And he bets 130. So good. I'm glad it didn't reveal the results of this hand. It did reveal that I called.
Right.
I tank called. Definitely not an easy call by any means.
It's so tough. There's so much value that he can have here. But
yeah,
I think where did you think that you sniffed this out to the point you made the call? Like, what was the key point to you as to why you can make this call with 8-9?
I think the key point is 10-jack should not raise this flop. And I think it's pretty ballsy if ace-9 were to bet this river. Because I could have 10-jack here and I would play this the same way.
Yeah.
I think this shows he either has a set of 7s or he has 10-jack. I don't see him having 10-6 here. I just don't. He wasn't really playing that loose. And I just see him having one of those two hands. And I think 10-jack suited also re-raises me pre-flop based on the hands I've been seeing. So that also takes a few combos away. So really he has 10-jack offsuit or a set of 7s.
Yeah.
And he has a decent amount of bluffs. I mean, like we said, he could have pair plus straight draw. He could have a worse 2-pair. I don't see that betting here because I think this kind of is a polarizing bet. He bet big. He bet, 120 into 150? I told myself if he bet 100 or less,
bet 130
I'm snapping.
into 150.
130 into 150. Huge
I'm sorry,
bet.
I memorized the sizing.
Huge bet. So yeah, this is a stressful spot, and
especially considering how much is in here. I mean, your heads up. This is a pot that's for, there's gonna be 500 in the pot. Both of you started with 500. I mean, half your stacks are in here. Is a significant pot in a heads up match that had been going on for a significant period of time. Yeah. So I
hadn't seen him really spaz. So yeah, I end up making the call. I literally just type in the chat. I'm like, I can't fold this. Like I think I'm too I think
heads up. I just don't think it's possible to lay that down.
This is never always a fold, and I think that's important to. As much as Doug Polk says it, I think 60% of the time I should call here. And I think it's obviously very player dependent, but against this specific player, I lean towards a call most of the time. But I think it's so dependent. I think it depends on the session. I think it depends on how much he'd been raising, how much he'd been bluffing, how much he was up, how much he was down. I think there's so many factors, and I don't want to say I got lucky. It was obviously a very calculated decision, but I got lucky.
You made the best possible decision with the information that you had.
Yeah. I didn't tell you guys what he had. So I believe Jack 8 off. So, not horrible. I don't like it as much as obviously 10-9 because he just had a gutter plus the pair. Yeah. But I mean, he blocked Jack 10, which obviously helps his bluff. But
I think that's what he was going for.
I don't hate his line. I think his line was good.
I think he was targeting a hand like yours, one that is a 2-pair hand that unblocks the straight combinations. But I think because he got aggressive on the flop and raised it there, it made it so that you can sniff this thing out on later streets.
So
wouldn't expect him to fast play it.
If I have ace-9 on the turn, what do you do? Do you still just flat because you're afraid of 10-jack or set? I think you do. I think I'd play this the same way. But I think ace-9 makes it easier to call.
Yeah.
Actually, does it though? Because that takes away his ace-9, but he could have 8-9 obviously still. So it's just so interesting.
Right, because I think it flips it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, how much time? We're 40 minutes in. Do we want to briefly describe the hand that was sent to me via DMs? Just overcall.
Did you write it up?
I have it in Instagram DMs very easily, and obviously they wouldn't be able to see it. So I think we're good just closing it out and asking him more questions on the
We'll bring it
stack
back at a
sizes
later
and
time.
stuff. We'll bring it back at a later time. So sorry that we did not have a guest today. I tried to get
Hey, it is
someone
what
on,
it is.
but it's still a good podcast. And,
I agree.
We'll get Wino on, and we've got some other great guests lined up, such as She Was Only 22, some other grinders, such as James Ross, WWV King.
Yep.
So we're going to have some good guests on here in the future, and if you guys have hand histories, please shoot them my way. Always looking for some tough spots that we can go over, and thanks for watching, and hope you guys have a good week. Good luck grinding. Run good.
Good luck on the tables.